Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Environment and Performance Committee. My name is Councillor Claire Rylott, and I am the chairman of this committee, and my vice chairman is Councillor Lena Savickian. Before we move to the agenda this evening, our housekeeping rules are as follows. Restroom facilities are available on this floor for the ladies and down the main stairwell for the gentlemen. In the event of the fire alarm sounding, officers will escort all attendees to the nearest safety point. May I please ask that all persons addressing this meeting do so clearly through the microphone system at all times. I would at this point remind all persons in attendance that this meeting is being streamed live. Please be advised that abuse or intimidation of any kind will not be tolerated. Anyone who is deemed to breach this requirement will be warned and asked to refrain. And if the behaviour persists, they will be asked to leave the meeting. That concludes the housekeeping rules, and we will now move straight into part one of this evening's agenda and address the preliminary items. So moving on, item 1, to receive apologies for absence and notifications of any substitute members.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We have apologies from Councillor Alison Austin, Councillor Richard Austin substituting. Apologies from Councillor David Scoot with Councillor Helen Staples substituting. Apologies from Councillors David Middleton and Ralph Pryke, no substitutes. And further apologies from portfolio holders Dale Broughton and Anne Dorian. Thank you.
Item 2, to sign the minutes of the last meeting held on the 31st of November 2023. Do members agree the minutes, please? Item 3, to receive declarations of interest in respect of any item on the agenda. Does any member of this committee wish to declare any interest in any item on the agenda? And item 4, to answer any written public questions. Are there any?
No questions, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. That concludes the preliminary items. We will now move into part 2 of tonight's agenda. Our first item of business this evening is the joint annual scrutiny of the South and East Lincolnshire Councils Partnership, which is on page 5 of the agenda, and will be presented by the chairman of the group, Councillor Brewis. Well, welcome, Councillor Brewis.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. And I'm going to take it that everyone has read the report, so I shan't be, you'll be very pleased to know, going through everything in the report because you've had a chance to read it all. But I think if I was to pick one particular quote that came out of it, it would be the one on page 10, part way down. The overall impression we got was, thus far so good and well done, but much still needs to be done to make our partnership even more effective and successful. And I've got to thank quite a number of people for their help with preparing this. Certainly yourself, your Vice Chairman, and Suzanne from Boston, my Vice Chairman Fiona, who couldn't come here tonight because her grandson is singing in Lincoln Cathedral, and I think she's probably got her priorities right. And particular thanks to James Gilbert and Rebecca James for keeping us on what I call the straight and narrow. A lot of what we've come up with in recommendations in the report was almost unanimous. There's a lot of enthusiasm, and it's been one of the most enjoyable task groups I've had to chair. And whether it be from leaders, senior officers, or the members of staff we interviewed, they were all more than willing to share with us their views and what they felt could possibly be done better, which is reflected in our reports. And we think this is also vital for us because we are, as we know, this, what I'm going to call the eastern part of Lincolnshire, is vital for the nation. And we hope that everyone will now notice that, and we are being noticed more, that our success is vital for the nation. And we hope that it's sufficiently vital that they won't have to wait for all the supermarkets inside the M25 to have empty shelves before they realise how vital we are to the country and the economy. I also feel I ought to comment in going by that were it not for the fact that the partnership is now being noticed nationally, I think it's very unlikely we'd have succeeded in getting the special interest group of the LGA looking into the IDB anomaly, Internal Drainage Board anomaly. And I think most of you probably already know that now it's up and running. A number of other parts of the country, at 9, I think, in number so far, have decided to join with us. And we have a great advantage in that the Secretary of State for the Environment happens to live in Tidcote, 5 miles from Wisbech. So he's right in the middle of it. So we hope he'll be aware of it. I'm commend the report to you and commend our recommendations. And I'd just like to say what a pleasure it's been to chair it. And our recommendations, I think, are clear for you to read and look at. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on the report or any comments they'd like to make?
Yeah, just an observation, really. I'm always struck by the number of times the word levelling up appears in reports these days. And we've got levelling up ambitions, blah-de-blah, levelling up success, and other references to levelling up as well elsewhere in the report, levelling up partnership. And I just wonder what exactly levelling up means within the context of the 3 council collaborative venture. I'm very much in favour of the 3 council collaborative venture, the strategic partnership, but I just struggle to understand what, within the context of this, levelling up actually means.
I think if I can say one thing that really struck us was that when we were dealing with, and we've obviously enclosed it within the report, the progress and delivery update, what surprised us was how much had been done within a year, moving us forward. And we maybe over-mentioned levelling up, but we think that some of the levelling up is possibly because we've now got a higher profile and we might not have got it all without. So we receive, but it's benefited all 3 of our districts in the partnership. And having said that, we still need a lot more.
I think from my perspective, I'd like a little bit of definition around what levelling up actually means within the context of the partnership. If we can get that, it will be very helpful to me. So we've got some way of measuring how successful we are in terms of the collaborative working that we're doing.
Rebecca, did you want to come in?
Yes, if that's okay. I was not specifically for the definition, but I was just looking at the pages, and I think in terms of this report, Councillor, apologies, I'm too far away to see your name badge, but in terms of this report, where levelling up is mentioned, it's in relation, I believe, to Appendix D and E, and they are documents that are showing things that have been done by the partnership, across the partnership in the last year. And levelling up is kind of a government coined phrase, if you like, and it was to do with various pots of funding that we could bid for. So it was sort of coined by the government to kind of level up more deprived areas to try and even things out across the country. That's where the phrase came from. And I believe that where it's mentioned in here, it's to do with activity that's happened over the past year. And as Councillor Brewis said, we included it, well, the panel wanted it included just to show just the sheer amount of things that had been achieved and had happened over the past 12 months.
Yeah. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I'm very impressed with what's been achieved over the last 12 months, without a doubt. I mean, I've got no negative comments to make about it, but I do think that the government's framework, it would be seen by a lot of people as being a little naive and full of aspiration, but no detail as to how it's to be achieved. So I think, you know, we need to work on something which means levelling up to us, as opposed to simply relying on what the government's requiring us to do, because a 30% improvement in whatever it might be by 2030 doesn't strike me as being particularly deliverable.
Thank you, Councillor. Sorry.
I wouldn't disagree with it, with anything you say. We've seen, as I said at the very opening, so far so well, but a long way to go. Yeah, a long way to go. Yes, and let's not lose sight of the fact that we could be. I still think we can be held up as an example of something vital to this country's future.
Thank you. Councillor Austin.
Thank you, Chair. I think the scrutiny has highlighted the success that we've had with grant applications, which we may not have had if the partnership wasn't in place. I wonder whether we could ask Councillor Brewis to highlight or comment on this point.
Well, we have. I think just as I said about the special interest group, I'm sure that our profile is higher now, and we are being noticed more. And because the partnership, the three councils in the partnership, have so many common interests, I think my view on that one would be, and I think it follows on from what Mike Gilbert said, that we have only touched it yet. We've got to do a lot more serious work to move forward to be an even more vital part of this country's future than we are at the moment. And I don't just mean food at all. I mean, there's the whole almost attitude in the countryside here. We are very different from most rural parts of the country. Very, very, very different indeed. And I think that's one of our great strengths.
Councillor Danny.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Brewis, for your comment. It's not a worry, but it's a question. As all we know that the devolution is going for a public consultation at the moment. And then my fellow here beside me, Councillor Gilbert, talked about the levelling. So there is a fight. And I think if the priority is given to the Greater Lincolnshire, do we still have a chance of getting more money from the government?
That's a much more difficult one. I have this strange feeling that with what they want to do with Immingham, Scunthorpe, Grimsby, and so on, I may be proved totally wrong, but in the back of my mind, I have a worry that that might suck most of the funding in that direction, and there might not be so much left over. I don't know, but I think our future, if we all keep eye on the ball, and we have further reports about where we're going, as effective as the one we've enclosed for you here, I think the only way for us, in my opinion, is up, provided we keep our eye on the ball very firmly.
Thank you. Yes, it just, you know, our resident in Boston, they always, feel sorry for Boston, in fact, because there's a lot of things we're captivated from. So the Greater Lincolnshire, it will be sort of this monster who will devour everything in its path. And for me, I mean, it's great to see us working together and fighting it back. Do we have any mechanism or any strategies of how to combat it from now on and work on it? Because it may happen next year, the year after, we're not sure when. Thank you.
I think when you're talking about the idea of the Greater Lincolnshire might devour everything, one of the things that's written into it is that it will not affect what the districts individually or collectively do. And I think we've got to make sure that we still keep our very, very loud voice, very, very firm. And I've been so impressed by the way that all people who came to meet us from all three of the districts are speaking on a lot of common voice. And I think we're being noticed. And I think, do I think that Greater Lincolnshire, do I think we should look at 1968 and looked at the Redcliffe Moore report more on how to reorganise local government? I don't know. We are where we are. And I live in the only parish, I represent the only parish in the country that has postal addresses in 3 counties and 2 regions, the metropolitan city of Sutton Bridge. And I'm only 9 miles from Lynn and 8 miles from Wisbech. But I still feel very much part of the partnership, even though a lot of it, I mean, if I take right up to the top. It's a long way away, even within the partnership, because I only live, I said, 9 miles from King's Lynn, and you start to get up beyond Mablethorpe, long way away. But I still feel part of it, and that's the key thing. I think we're beginning to get our message through, and we've got to make sure we keep our message very clear, very direct, and keep achieving in the, you know, that we have an even better report next year on this.
Any other comments?
I think it's very impressive to hear, you know, both Councillor Danny's question and Councillor Bruce's answer. I mean, essentially, we're talking about 3 democracies creating 1 bureaucracy to save money and drive efficiencies. And I think that has to be seen as something very positive and something fairly trailblazing.
The fact that we're already being noticed and it's being commented on and we're being noticed nationally. And I know, because I meet people from a lot of different counties, I know what's happening in Lincolnshire. It's being looked at with interest in quite a few areas. And, you know, I was originally from Somerset, and I know Britain very, very well, because I've lived in Somerset, Wiltshire, Durham, Cumbria, South Wales, and Lincolnshire. And I've been in Lincolnshire longer than I've been anywhere else, and I absolutely love it. And any excuse I get, and I am on several bodies which are outside. I happen to be a governor of the King's Lynn Hospital, and I happen to be on a drainage board. A majority of the members come from Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, and I do my bit to keep advertising that we don't sound pretty good at this end at the moment. And we've got it. Well, we all of us have to do it to be effective.
Thank you, Councillor Brewis, and you are correcting what you say. I think we are starting to being noticed. And actually, there was comment about Boston in the Sunday Times a week or so ago. Thank you for all your hard work on this paper, and the recommendation is to note the attached report, and it will be considered at the next cabinet meeting. So thank you very much. Our next report this evening is the Boston Guildhall Action Plan on page 35 of the agenda, and this will be presented by the portfolio holder, Councillor Sarah Sharp, who is supported by the Assistant Director, Leisure and Culture, Phil Perry, and the Interim Cultural Services Manager, Rachel Rowett.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to provide the Scrutiny Committee with a work programme of activity designed to support service delivery at the Guildhall, Boston. As committee members may know, the Guildhall is owned and maintained by Boston Borough Council. It has international, national and local significance. The building itself dates back to the 1390s and is a testament to the wealth and influence of the Guild of St Mary at a time when Boston's power as a centre of trade was second only to London. The Leisure and Culture Division within the Communities Directorate is responsible for developing and delivering the museum service that is offered through the Guildhall. As portfolio holder for culture, I have a strong ambition to ensure the Guildhall thrives as an asset within our guardianship. Noting the importance of the building to the Borough of Boston and the need to deliver an efficient service, an action plan has been developed that is built around 4 themes: sustainability and improving financial resilience, historic site and collection, exhibition and event programming, promotion and marketing. The thematic areas within the plan are supported by key strategic objectives which are linked to 21 actions. I believe it is vitally important that as a council we work together with partners and our local communities to safeguard and make available to everyone key important assets such as the Guildhall, so that residents and visitors can see and learn about our heritage, and also so that future generations can have the same opportunity. To this end, the recommendation is for this committee to consider the report and its appendix, and subject to your feedback, provide approval for the adoption of the Guildhall Action Plan when it is presented to Cabinet formally.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Who would like to fire away on the first question? Councillor Austin, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I have 5 or 6 points to throw into the ring for debate. With your permission, Madam Chairman, I will suggest that I ask one at a time, if I may. Now, the first thing is that in February, Boston Borough Council was awarded with a grant of £650,000 grant funding from the Arts Council. And one of the reasons for this bid was to kickstart the opening of the Guildhall 6 days a week. And also to get more interesting exhibits on a regular basis and increase the footfall. Now, this large grant is only briefly mentioned in this report, in this action plan, and there are no specific actions as far as I can see, despite the fact we've had ample time from confirmation in February that we had the grant. So there's been 8 months. So why is this? Is my question. And I must add that I want to be positive, and I want to be constructive in my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Austin. So the £650,000, which was part of the £2 million for 3 years grant by Arts Council England, was to create an NPO, a National Portfolio Organisation. And the reason we were awarded that funding was because we have the Guildhall, which is an accredited museum, as well as Ascafee. That was to deliver a programme of work for 3 years to then go out to the communities to help with cultural different activities there. We've established a culture board. We've now got an NPO cultural manager, and a lot of the activities will be taking place within the Guildhall, and the Guildhall will facilitate them. So hopefully within that we might be able to open a little bit more, but Arts Council England are very specific in how they want that funding to be used, and it is to develop and give out cultural activities. But I will lean to Rachel to give more feedback.
Thank you. Yes, so the National Portfolio Organisation is actually being led by East Lindsey District Council. So it's across the whole partnership, but the bid was from East Lindsey District Council, and it's being developed through the Growth Directorate. So while we are working in partnership with them, it's not part of our work programme to deliver on the NPO. So the action plan is very much around the Guildhall as a venue and how we're going to develop that and bring more people into that. The NPO will feed into that, and we will be doing activities from using that funding, but it is being led by a different department and a different team.
Yeah. I just think it's very disappointing that there's, not a more positive take on all of this in this report, and I would very much like to see the report being a little bit more, giving us more detail on this. May I go on?
Carry on.
May I go on to my next point?